What's up guys, welcome back to The Decent Garage. Today I'm bringing you another episode of Ask Decent Garage where I answer your questions to try and help the whole community out to learn from your questions. So in today's video we're going to be talking about topics such as wiring an external fuse panel, fueling issues, lift springs for 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive trucks, and also the killer dowel pin. As we're going through this video, if you have other questions that you feel like I could answer for you, make sure to comment below those questions, or all my socials are in the description of this video. You can reach out to me on any of my socials or email, and you can ask me any questions, and I'll see if I can answer that in one of these videos. So the first question, someone asked, how do you wire an external fuse panel into your truck? Well, it's just your luck. I have a full video on how I did that on my OG crew cab, but let me head over to the truck and actually show you how I did that as well, so that may help you a little bit more. Here we are at the OG crew cab. Let me show you the external fuse box I put in here and how to basically wire it up. So on this truck I have two external fuse blocks. This one's for the fusible links and this one is a standalone fuse box. Now I did this one a long time ago and I did this one just about 2 years ago. Had I done this one first, I could have used some of the fuse slots in here and never had to do this one. But I have them both and they both work. So when you're dealing with a fuse block, you need two things. You need a good source of 12-volt power and a good ground. So right here you can see my two 12-volt power wires. One goes to the external fuse block and the other one goes to the fusible links box. And then coming off of it right here, this is my heavy-duty ground wire. These are about 6/0 for the ground and for the power wire, and it just grounds onto the fender. From there you have these terminals. These 12 right here are for ground, so anything I need to ground I just put there, and these 12 are for power, and I can change whatever size fuse I want for those. So it's super simple. Once you have your power going to the bottom and your ground from the top, you just plug things in how you need them and just put the appropriate size fuse. Now I will make an honorable mention here. Tyler Ovens at Ovens Garage did an awesome video where he installed something like this. I think he did it cleaner, and he also did half of his fuses being constant power and half of them being keyed power, which I think is awesome. So go check out this video here. That's the one he did. He did a really good job. I'm not a wiring expert. He totally outdid himself on this, so make sure to check that out. Next, someone asked me, how do you know if you have a bad lift pump? So the answer to this goes into kind of a basic diagnostic process, the fueling system. So the first thing you need to know in this process is what's your fuel pressure. I highly recommend a fuel pressure gauge. I have a video right here that shows you which gauge to install and how to install it. That thing has been a lifesaver. Once you have that gauge, you need to determine what component could be causing that fueling issue. When I think of a fueling issue, I think of 4 things. 1, the supply from the tank, the fuel sending unit, whatever's in the tank, whether that's gummed up. 2 would be the lift pump. 3 would be the fuel filter, and 4 would be the fuel shutoff solenoid. So those are the 4 things I think of between the injection pump and the fuel tank that could be causing fuel pressure issues. So the first thing always when you're dealing with a fuel pressure issue, change your fuel filter. That's always number 1. Now I re-emphasize, in order to know if that worked, you need a fuel pressure gauge. You can obviously tell if the truck runs better or not, but the best way is to just have a fuel pressure gauge. So if that didn't work, then I go and I pull the lift pump and make sure it's clean. There's a screen that goes into the inlet of the lift pump that can cause the issue. I have a video where we actually ran into that. We took a long time to diagnose a fueling issue, and that was the issue. So make sure to go check out this video. If the lift pump's not the issue, my next place to go is the fuel shutoff solenoid. Make sure the rubber tip on the plunger hasn't broken off and isn't causing the fueling issues. I have a whole video on how to get to that plunger, how to get the fuel shutoff solenoid out, and a good fix to make sure that tip on the rubber plunger never causes you issues in the future. So make sure to go check out this video too. Now, if all those things check out, that's when I go to the tank. The tank's a pain in the butt to take out. It's a pain in the butt to get to the sending unit, so that's the last thing I go to. And that's, in my experience, usually the least common place to have the issue. So luckily, the hardest place to get to is usually the least common place to cause the issues. So make sure you check those 4 things. The next question I had was about leveling a first gen. Now, we need to decide, are we talking about leveling a 2-wheel drive or a 4-wheel drive? You're super limited when you're looking at leveling a 2-wheel drive truck, but I have a full video right here that shows you how to level a 2-wheel drive truck. Go check out that video. I go over everything in that video. Now, there isn't really much information on leveling a 4-wheel drive truck, and luckily I have 3 different first gens, and all 3 of them have different, what I would call, options for leveling. So let's head out to my trucks and I'll show you the different options. We'll talk about the pros and cons and which one you may prefer. All right, so here we are at the OG Crew Cab. Here's option 1 to level your 4-wheel drive Cummins. So the OG Crew Cab actually has the stock front leaf springs on it, but what you can do, so there you can see the stock front leaf springs. They look reversed arch. Everyone comments about that, but that's normal for a 4-wheel drive first gen. They're either flat or some of them are reversed arched. So what you can do is you can pull the leaf pack, take it to a spring shop, and they can re-arch them. And the other thing you'll want to do is add 1 leaf to the very bottom. That'll give you about 2.5 inches of lift in the front and level out the truck. Now there's controversy as to whether re-arching is a permanent solution. I've actually heard a lot of good things of doing it that way, but some people say eventually it's just going to sag back down. But that is one way to do it, and it's probably the most economical way. Option number 2, so Prospector Bob has 2.5-inch lift Alcan leaf springs. So they look similar to stock, but they are a 2.5-inch lift spring. They ride really smooth actually compared to the stock springs. So this is another option, is just to buy a new spring pack that's a 2.5-inch leveling kit. Now the 3 companies that I would recommend to go for this is Alcan, Atlas, or Deaver. Alcan's in Wyoming, Atlas is in California, Deaver's in Colorado. Those are the 3 top companies that do these springs. They all make a quality product and stand behind it, so it might just come down to shipping costs. But make sure to check those out. It'd be easy to just swap them out. That's what I plan on doing on the OG Crew Cab here shortly. All right, now the last option. Here we are at Long Bed Larry. Third option here. So this is a setup. This is made by Jungle Jim. He is on Ram Charger Central, and as far as I know, that's the only way you can get his products. But if you haven't checked out his products, you definitely should. So this is a lift front shackle hanger, and it's actually doubles as a brace for the front. Add some rigidity to the front. So if I were to have this with stock springs, these are not stock springs. He has different height lifts of shackles you can get as well. They come with Zerks and the bolts, really quality product. So that's a product you could do, and you could order it specifically to level out your truck. Now he's got all kinds of incremental size lifts you could do. So if you want to do a 2.5-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, whatever, he's got different sizes that he can hook you up with, and then you just match the rear springs to match that much lift. So this is a great product. It's not cheap, but the quality is amazing. But those are some of the best options for leveling a 4-wheel drive first gen Cummins. And the last question in today's video is about what is the killer dowel pin, or the KDP. So if you're on the forums or on Facebook or anywhere and you own a 12-valve Cummins, you've probably heard the term KDP, or killer dowel pin. This is a little dowel pin that goes between the block and the front timing case that was used when they were assembling the engine to basically hold the front timing case onto the block while they put all the bolts in. Unfortunately, because of the low rumble and all that vibration from the engine, that dowel pin can have the tendency to wiggle its way out and actually drop into the front timing case and either break the front timing case, break the gears in the timing case, or cause some other failure. And if you're lucky, it can fall all the way through the gears and just go right into your oil pan, and you don't have an issue. So if you buy a 12-valve Cummins, you need to ask the previous owner, did the killer dowel pin get fixed, or did it get tabbed? Okay, there's a couple ways to fix this, but if it hasn't been done, or if you don't know if it's been done, this is one where it's definitely worth digging in there and making sure it's done. It's not super hard to get to. You just drain your coolant, remove your radiator, take the fan off, and then take the front case cover off, and then you're there. Now there's a couple ways to fix it. I've actually talked about that in another video, and I'm going to show you footage here of me actually tabbing a killer dowel pin. What we're going to do a cheap KDP fix. It is not worth paying the extra money for the billet things that you buy. Totally not worth it. Here's what we have. This is a hose line clamp that was on the frame that I took off of one of the trucks. We're basically just gonna cut it right there, maybe file the edges just a little bit. And so what we're gonna do, take this case bolt out, and then run that as a tab over the KDP right here. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I've used a coat hanger before and just bent it around and then used the case bolt to tie it in there. Another thing is you can just get a punch and peen the edge of this. On the first gen case, that's easier because you have more meat on the case to actually work with, but on the second gen case, you don't have a lot of meat there to work with to peen it. So we're gonna do that.
Screwdriver here, you put it right on that and then you turn it.
Okay, there we go. You can see it's nothing beautiful, but once we have this engine together, no one will ever see this again. So it doesn't have to be beautiful, it just has to be functional. One solution that I've seen that I don't recommend is to actually pull the dowel pin out. Don't pull it out. It actually has structural function to holding the timing case onto the block, even though you have a lot of bolts holding it on still. Don't pull it out, tap it all the way back in and either tab it or peen it. So I hope this video was helpful. These are common questions I see all the time. If you have other questions, make sure to comment down below. Reach out to me on social media. All my socials are in the description below. Thanks for your support, and we will see you guys in the next video.